When I got my Sigma FP, I did a lot of research online trying to figure out what the best ISO setting was for the least amount of noise. Obviously, the lower the better is typically the way you want to go, but I knew that the Sigma FP had a dual base ISO, and I was trying to confirm from other people what the correct two settings were. Or not correct, but you know. Anyways, the two dual bases are 100 and 640. That applies to the still mode, so in photography, if you're taking pictures, it's 100 and 640, end of story, that's it. It gets a little bit more nuanced though when you get into the cinema side. So in the cinema mode, when you're doing 10-bit or 8-bit MOVs or CDNGs, so that's your cinema DNG raw video, then 10-bit, 8-bit, it's still 100 and 640. However, when you shift over to cinema mode doing 12-bit raw, so 12-bit cinema DNG, or if you're using an external recorder, such as the Atomos Ninja 5, which is what I'm using to record this video, or if you use a Blackmagic recorder to get B-RAW, then that's in 12-bit as well. So it shifts that second base ISO from 640 to 3200. So if you're doing 12-bit recording, 100, 3200. And you can actually see this taking effect when you're recording. So I'm gonna try and set up a little scenario real quick, and then gonna show you how you can see that actually on the external recorder if you're using that, and then we'll get into some more details. So let's look at that first. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. I have a little scene set up here, just of my keywords. That's all we're looking at here. There's, when you have the focus peaking on, you can see some of the noise show up as you get into a higher ISO. So here I'm going to shift the ISO while we're recording. We're at 250 right now, okay? And not too much, not looking too bad. We're gonna keep going. We just have these two hue lights down here, and then I have one streaming kind of light, whatever that Elgato streaming light is. I can't think of the name. So we're gonna keep shifting it up. We're at 500. Here's 640. Now remember, this is a 12-bit. 1000, 1250, 1600, 2000, 2500. This is just before we're gonna move over to 3200. All right, so we're at the peak before we hit our second base ISO. And if you look closely here, you can see in the black on the keyboard, you can see all the noise. All right, and then we'll see it drop away once we shift up to 3200. You can see a lot of that noise is gone right there. It might be a little bit tricky to see on here from my phone, but I'll try and do it again. 2500, lots of noise. 3200, almost no noise. So I watched a really great video where a photographer gave some resources and advice on how to get the lowest noise possible in your photos. I'll have that video linked down in the description because if you want to watch it, it's super helpful. Great video. In the video, he gave a link to a helpful website. So this website is called Photons to Photos. You can see that here in my screen recording. And I'm also going to have that linked down in the description, this section that I'm on. This allows you to actually pick a camera, and then you can actually see how much noise is going to be at each ISO setting. And it's a great way to visualize those dual base ISOs. So you can pick a ton of different cameras here. We're gonna go down towards the bottom though, because we're looking at the Sigma FP. And you can select it. You can also pick multiple if you want. So if you want to see how the Sigma FP-L compares to the Sigma FP, then you can do that. Additionally, there's Canons and Sonys and so many cameras. Go check it out. So here though, we can notice that our dual base ISO shows up right here. We got 640 and 100. So you can see if you go through the extended ranges, There's 125, there's 150, 200. Those are all nearly identical in terms of how much noise you should be getting or seeing typically. Every situation might vary a little bit, so if you're seeing different results, adjust accordingly. But in general, 100 to 200 is going to be a very, very safe space to be. 500 gets a little bit noisy, but again, not terrible. This camera really does great in low light. 640, you see this huge drop down. That's kind of the same thing you're going to experience when you saw on the Ninja 5 that jump from 2500 to 3200, where you had all this noise showing up in the focus peaking, and then as soon as we went to 3200, boom, it just like disappeared. So we don't see the 3200 show up because this is looking at it from a photography perspective, which if you remember from earlier, just 100 and 640. But that's okay because it kind of shows the same exact response that you would expect to see. So just keep in mind to experiment and play around with what ISO you have your camera set at. Because if you're doing photography or video, your environment is going to be a huge factor. How much light you have and what kind of lens you're using, it's going to change, how much noise you're going to see show up. I've shot some photos and video where I had my ISO way higher than I normally would have had it, and everything looked clean still. So just keep that in mind. That's it. This was fairly straightforward, and hopefully that gave you a quick confirmation of the way the camera is built and set up. If you want to see more videos like this, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you can be notified of any future videos I make. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you later.